Alright, time to go through some more junk. So, year and a half I moved. There's my missing parts that go on my #1 workbench, which is where I do my work at. So this is all the junk I've been missing, I've been looking for a year now. So, it's all hidden in the back of my dad's truck. So, good place for it. So, let's see what we got down here. Should be all kinds of good stuff. Actually, I'm going to put it over here. Light on, right there. Let's see what we got in these boxes. So, I know there's indicators in here because I've already seen them. So, I bought that cheap-ass indicator set on eBay that was worthless because the dial was all bound up as a dial set or something like that, the name of it. High-end stuff, but when the stuff's all sticky and the needle ain't working right, it's worthless because you can't measure it right. So this would be all my good stuff in here that's been hidden for a while. So this feels like micrometers. Nope. 4 gauges. Still got the oil on them from when I used them last. So these are my valve guide dial bore gauges for measuring valve guide holes. So very nice to find those. This stuff's very expensive. Nothing like having to rebuy stuff you already own, which I already did once. I've done it more than once already. Excuse me. So these would be the indicator sets in here. There's all the different bits and stuff for that to go with them. So that kit right there is about a $600 kit. This one here would be the junk one. That'll be under that number right there. This thing's worthless. So this is Meditoyo, very expensive. This was like $650 when I bought it 8 years ago. So instead of having a ball, it has a pin. Off a pin over here, and this is a small hole probe, so this goes from 240 thousandths up to 400 thousandths. So this is what I needed for doing the 7mm valve stems and 5s and 6mm, all that small stuff. The problem with this is it's made wrong. Unless these pins are exactly 180 across from each other in parallel, when you put in the hole, if you move it sideways like that, it'll change the diameter to a bigger diameter than what it is. So you have to measure a hole like this, which means it's worthless. So I told him to tell you about that, and I saw him at shows, and they said get back to him. Yeah, I never got back to him. They didn't do anything anyway. Maybe they'll still do it, who knows. So anyway, it's made wrong. Another worthless tool. So here's all my small stuff down here. So these are all my chemicals that I had to rebuy. All my Loctites. Different variations of Loctites. My sleeve retainer I needed. Red ones. All this stuff. All this stuff's been missing for a long time. Assembly oil. Toco. Here's my bore gauges, or my standards for my bore gauges. So these are setting rings for your dial bore gauge. So you put your dial bore gauge in that and you measure diameter. This one's for a 3/8 diameter. So you take your 3/8 dial bore gauge and you stick inside your standard. And you zero it out. See, right now we're like 2.5 tenths off because the temperature is cold as hell right now here. This thing was probably set when it was in the 70-degree weather, and now it's in the 55-degree weather. So you have to reset by temperature. That's why things are adjustable, so you can zero it all out before you use them. So that's the only way you can be accurate, is you have to have stuff like this. So this is all stuff I need to do heads. One reason I wouldn't be able to do heads for the last couple of years. Now, I got some tools, I can work on heads again. Ooh boy. Yeah, what else is in here? There's some more Loctites. Some more Loctites. Looks like some oil pump stuff. Who knows? Pliers for pulling valve seals out. These are all tools I needed. So I found this one the other day. This tool I use all the time. It's for piston rings, snap rings, all kinds of things. I actually bought a new one of these. It's in the package over here somewhere. I just bought one a week before I found this one. I got tired of waiting. So now I got another one. These are my setting wristbands for Shovelhead and Evo. So I marked the Evo one with a notch on it because they're only 1 thou different. So I check my rods to see if they're bad or not. So these are all tools I have laying around. These ones are for twin cam, M8. This is my studs I use for when I need to hold case together for mock-up. Here's a bag of miscellaneous stuff you need when you put a motor together that's always missing when you need it. Washer, snap rings, keys, little screws, all the stuff inside the motor you need. You always got to have a bag of crap like this laying around. It's where all the good stuff is that's keeping me from putting the motor together. There's the files I use for filing around the cases. They're nice and dull, so they don't really do any damage, but you cut off burrs. Just the valve spring compressor tools for compressing valve springs. All the different ones I got. Here's my dikes for pulling out the keys out of shafts. These are ones I modified. I cut them real thin so they're almost flat on the edge here for getting really in there tight. Modified. Here's my 90-degree snap ring pliers for doing the oil pump keys on your Evos on back. And see, I ground them down real flat here on the side to get more room so you get in there tight, because it's hard to get in there with a snap ring plier. So these have been modified. A pair of universal dikes just laying around. So this is all stuff you need when you're working on a bike. Here's another goodie box full of good stuff. Miscellaneous screws and shit. So, very valuable box. Of course, you got to have your pins and stuff for writing on your invoices or whatever you're doing, and marking up stuff. All good stuff. These are different pieces of welding rod I use for checking holes for oil gathers and stuff like that. These are all just little tools. They look like it's junk laying around, but they're little tools. And there you go. All kinds of good parts. And the box got rusty, so now I got rusty wrist pins and stuff like that, which means they're worthless for using for new. But I can clean these up and I can still use them for mock-up, so I'll have to clean them up. We had a bunch of rainstorms a couple weeks ago, and evidently Dad's truck leaks slightly in the front, with the window between the cab is. So that was a lot of stuff there. Lots of good parts. Okay, what's this piece here? This one they actually sealed up in the baggie, so you can't even get it open. Really protected. Oh, that's opened up. Very well sealed. There we go. Ah! The last missing caliper. Alright. Hey, the battery still works. There you go. There you go. That's the last one that's missing. I was missing 3 of them for about a year. That's the last one. Alright. Now I can retire my junk one. This was my first caliper I used. It's Fowler. Pretty good brand. Just here's a Mitutoyo. This one here I wore out. It's about 2 or 3 thou off, but I tightened everything all up and think it's only a thou off now, but it's from wear. Because this has soft jaws in it. They're just stainless jaws. My other ones I got have carbide in them, so they're a lot stronger. Actually, I think I'm still missing my broken carbide one. I think I'm still missing one caliper still. So, anyway, this one you can't ever shut off, so the battery gets low. It just keeps flashing for about a year, and then it shuts off when it's working. This one here, you actually have an on-off switch on it. Plus, this has bigger numbers on it, so you can read it easier. They make these with small, big numbers. So these are good. So there you go. That's a lot of good tools there. That stuff's been missing for a long ass time. So now I can do my head work and assembly work and all kinds of stuff. It's really hard to do work when you don't have your tools. So this tripod sticks down like that, so I can't just close it. So here's my valve spring compressor back there. I didn't have any of the tools to go with it. so it made it hard to use. Alright, what else do we got? This is more bench number 1. And this one. I don't know. Junk. More junk. And this is all stuff that's underneath bench number 1. This is just a bunch of mock-up junk, broken oil pumps. These are all just junk pistons for mock-up purposes. That box we don't care about. Here's all the more containers of all the stuff you need when you're working on things. These are boxes of miscellaneous parts. There's new crank pin, new nuts, some used washers, some new washers. This is all new oil pump switch and stuff. There's a bunch of new washers and clips and stuff in there. These are mock-up gaskets. You always need gaskets for mocking up. More nuts, bolts, hardware. Evo intake. And more stuff. What's in these things here? Pinion gear, shaft, Sportster. That's a bushing. A bunch of bushings. Alright, so that's a good box of stuff there, but not as good as that box up there. That was a key box. See what else we got in here. New can of sealer. Bunch of brand new valves. This is all stuff that I was in the middle of doing jobs, I guess. There's some new cams in there. Looks like I was working on a Sportster motor here. And then we got some, this is all Sportster motor parts. This is all parts of the Sportster job. So that's part of the work that I was working on. And this one over here, get your handy dandy knife out. Ooh, racing stuff. I like this box. The racing parts. There's some cams I designed up. I ground that lobe by hand. Yeah, that'll wake up the motor when you put that in there. See, that's the old lobe. This is the new lobe. This is for a flathead motor. For a 45 flathead W series. And this is the other one I didn't finish. See, I did one side. This side I never finished. So I designed the cam up what I want to do, and then I hand grind it. A pedestal grinder. And when you're all done, you got a mock-up cam lobe. And this is mocked up to 1 thou. I'm probably within 2 thou of every degree of rotation what I wanted. Grinding it by hand. So that's how you experiment and see what you want. So I got a hell of a lot of inverted flanking going on here. That's a little bit too abrupt right there. I don't think I quite finished that lobe yet. See, this one's nice and smooth coming up. This one here drops off quick, so this side here is not done yet. But, that's stuff I was doing back in the mid-80s. Mid-early 80s, late 80s. I was doing some stroker motor stuff. Probably mid-80s. Mock-up stuff. And it's back when I had not a lot of time, or a lot of time and no money. Just a mock-up of a race head that flowed a lot of air on the flow bench and never made it. Didn't really have a way of making it. So that was the design I came up with when I accessed the flow bench back in the 80s. So that thing flowed a lot of air. Lifters for something, probably out of a car. Alright, so this is all mock-up race stuff. Development racing parts, kind of like airplane motors, but many, many years before. I'm not new at figuring out how to make garbage. Alright, well, I'm happy. Got all kinds of good stuff here. But that one box right there is the #1 box. There's so much more work I can do now that I have by missing tools. It doesn't take much stuff to make it where the shop becomes worthless. And that's the stuff I was missing that made it worthless. Alright, I'm happy. Time to put all that junk away now.